Today is Monday, January 30th, and I'm going to keep reading from the book of Isaiah. This is a really good chapter from Isaiah. There's an expression in this chapter that gets used outside, in society a lot, and I didn't know that it came from the Bible. That happens a lot where there will be these expressions that people use, and they won't tell you, oh, did you know that's from the Bible? And before I start reading, if you see anything, if anything sticks out to you, if you have a personal interpretation, if you have a question, go ahead, leave it in the comments, and maybe I'll address it in the next video. Okay, so here we go. The word that Isaiah, the son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. Isaiah was top-tier prophet. This is exactly what is talked about in the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation mentions all nations rising up and sieging war against God. And so, yeah, that's a pretty crazy part of Revelation. That honestly could be a topic because it gets brought up in the comments a lot. Are we in the 1,000-year little season where Satan is let loose? I don't know. It is very possible. It is very possible that we are in that time, and it goes along with the whole fake history thing and noticing, hey, there has been this one world, very advanced civilization with amazing architecture. That already has happened. So I see where people are coming from when they say, yeah, Christ's millennial reign already happened, and that's what all those old world buildings are from. I think that's a possibility. I don't discount that. I think it is a possibility that we're in Satan's little season. I don't think that that's impossible. Anyways, but I very much read that with verse 2. Isaiah knew prophecy about what is going to happen in end times. That's what he's talking about there. It's in book of Revelation. Okay, continuing on. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. That's the expression taken from Isaiah that gets used a lot. Beating swords into plowshares, and spears into pruning hooks. Beautiful imagery. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. O house of Jacob, come ye, and let us walk in the light of the Lord. Therefore thou hast forsaken thy people, the house of Jacob, because they be replenished from the east, and are soothsayers like the Philistines, and they please themselves in the children of strangers. Their land also is full of silver and gold, neither is there any end of their treasures. Their land is also full of horses, neither is there any end of their chariots. Their land also is full of idols. They worship the work of their own hands, that which their own fingers have made. And the mean man boweth down, and the great man humbleth himself. Therefore forgive them not. Enter into the rock, and hide thee in the dust for the fear of the Lord, and for the glory of his majesty. That's also something that gets repeated when end times are talked about later in the Bible. That people running inside of caves and hiding behind rocks for the fear of the Lord. The lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of man shall be bowed down, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon every one that is proud and lofty, and upon every one that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low, and upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, and upon all the oaks of Bashan, and upon all the high mountains, and upon all the hills that are lifted up, and upon every high tower, and upon every fenced wall, and upon all the ships of Tarshish, and upon all pleasant pictures. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of man shall be made low, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. And the idols he shall utterly abolish. And they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth for fear of the Lord, and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. So this is Isaiah is cutting to the chase. We're in chapter 2, and Isaiah is giving a play-by-play of end times that is talked about later in the Bible and matches up exactly. You know how you've been growing up and they've always talked about if you grew up on the west coast of of US. They've always been talking about the big one. We're waiting for the big one. And honestly, I'll just say here, I do believe that the Earth used to be more Pangea shaped. I think that there's a grain of truth to that. In the very beginning, Earth probably did look like that. But things became separated, and I think it's possible things come back together again. I don't know. But the Bible, in end times, the Earth shakes terribly, and mountains are brought low, and islands fall into the sea. And I think it's possible California might become an island again for the end times. That's just a guess. I don't know. Okay. In that day, a man shall cast his idols of silver and his idols of gold, which they have made, each one for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats, to go into the clefts of the rocks and into the tops of the ragged rocks, for fear of the Lord, and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. Seize ye for man, whose breath is in his nostrils, for wherein is he to be accounted of? Okay. Yeah, already very intense, the beginning of Isaiah, and talking about the end times. And all of this stuff gets repeated later in the Bible. So, hope you enjoyed this first video, or I guess second video on Isaiah, and I hope you stick around for reading more from this book. It's such an excellent book from the Old Testament to read. God bless everyone.